Hey everyone, my name is Adam. I noticed many of my fellow students were really struggling with the concept of functions this week. And so I thought I'd try to explain functions. And uh, in my mind, they're really not a hard concept. We've just been scripting for the last semester, and so the jump to functions can be a little jarring. The first thing you need to know is you've been using functions since day one. When you wrote print hello world, well, guess what? Print is a function. You can actually go and look. If you click on this, you can actually go see the code. If you really, really want to see what the function print is, you can see def print just like that. Okay. And there's more def prints right here, so on and so on and so forth. So it's a function. It's just a built-in function. And so the idea of functions isn't unique. It's just now you're building your own functions. Okay. Int is the same thing. Float is a function as well. Okay. Um, Functions that are attached to objects are called methods. And so if you have an x dot x equals some string, and you say x dot strip or capitalize, those are functions, but because they're functions attached to an object, they're called methods, because objects have methods, events, and properties hanging off of them. But it's still a function. Okay. So you've been using functions. Imagine you and when you put code like this in a file, it's called scripting. Okay. And it's really easy to start that way. You just say print hello world and you're done. But creating a function isn't that much different. You go create a main function, indent this, and then call the function main, just like you were calling print or something like that. You're just going to say call main. Okay. Now, the function has to be above the main call because Python interpreter starts at the top of the file and starts reading it. And if you say main and it doesn't know what main is yet, it doesn't know how to call it. And so that's why you see it at the bottom of a file like that. But this function does exactly what the first one, the script, does. Okay, so there's the mystery behind a function. Is there is no mystery. It's just a way to call code, just like you've been calling with print or int or float. Okay. And in fact, all modern code does things like this. You create another function to do something, right? Don't know what that function's going to do. I'm going to create another function. I don't know what that one's going to do, so I put a pass in there for right now. Okay, but you'll create function after function after function, and then you wire the functions together. And you're going, okay, Adam, why would I do that? Well, let's say we are doing something just a little more complicated than hello world. Let's say we need to ask the user for input, like an integer. And everyone's written this, please provide an integer between 1 and 10, inclusive. Okay. And then you'd say print user input. If we run this code, what happens? Okay, and I go 1, and it works. And then what if I run it again? And I go 100. Oh, it didn't really give me what I wanted because I need to wrap this thing with some validation, right? And so that means I got to do like a while true, indent this thing, and then you'd say if user input is less than or equal to 1 and user input is greater than or equal to 1 and less than or equal to 10, then print the user input. Else print invalid input, try again. right? And if we run this, you go, please provide in anything, 0. It goes, no good. But if I go 5, it prints 5. So imagine you needed to get 5 or 10 different numbers, and they were all different ranges for different things. And so you could copy this, and you go, yep, and you go, I need a number between 100 and 1,000. And so now I got to change this, 100 and, or 10 and 1,000, like that. Okay. And if we run this, right, it works. 5, and then it gets down to the next one, and I go, no good, but if I go, it goes good. So, but imagine you needed 10 or 20 of this, and anytime you see duplicated code, you're going, I might need to put that in a function. So imagine we take this and we put it in a function, and we call our function get user input. Okay, and we put it right here. Okay, now when you're translating code like this into a function, normally inside your code, right, you'd go, I need a new variable, and so I need x, and I set x equal to something, or I get input from the user and I set x. In this case, you need that function, that value, but where it comes from is from the function declaration. You say, give me a prompt, and then whenever anyone calls my function, okay, they're going to provide that prompt to me. Okay, we're going to copy this down here. We're going to put this here. We're going to grab this one too as our two different sort of examples, and I'm just going to sort of stash them off right here because those are the two things we really need to solve for. So while true, okay, we need a prompt. Another thing we need in this case is a min and a max, right? So we can say min value, and these are called parameters, but again, they're just variables instead of and they're inside the scope of this function, so you can use them inside here. You can call them whatever you want. When you on the outside, when someone's passing a parameter, they can call it whatever they want as well. So I'm going to show you how this works. Okay, so the first thing we're going to have to do is go, okay, we're going to do the same thing. User input equals the int of an input of prompt. We don't have to type out the message because we're expecting the person who's calling this to give us the message. Similarly, here's the min value, and they've provided us the max value too. Okay, boom, just like that. We have a prompt, we have a min value and max value that we defined in our function declaration. We define a function, okay? And now when we call these things, we just say get user input. Here's our prompt, and it needs to be 10 and 1,000, right? There's our min value and max value. Or you can say min equals 1, max equals 10, and question equals this. And then you could go question min max, just like that. Again, you can as you pass these parameters in here, you can even pass them out of order. I can say user input equals, oh, and we got to change this to our get user input function, right? Like that, okay? User input equals get user input, and we can say question, and we can say prompt equals question, but I can say min value equals min, and max value equals max, and then here's my prompt. I could even put them out of order. They don't have to be in the same order. As long as I use this equals, I am specifying which of the parameters this value equals, okay? Sometimes this is easier to see. And so now we can ask these questions right here, right? Get user input. What did I do wrong here? 10, 1000. It says user input is not accessed. So I guess we have to say print user input or something like that. And then that squiggly will go away. Oh, it expected me to indent this stuff. There we go, because I'm inside of the main function. So now we have and we'll do that one more time right here. Okay, and if we run this code, it's going to read these two things. It's going to read them and go by them, and then call main. Main will go right here. It'll call this, which will go up to here, run this code, print it, set these values, call get user input again with these values, and then call it again with them in different orders. Okay, between 10 and 1000. So let's go 0, and it goes nope, not good. Okay, 100. Great, give me something between 1 and 10. 5. Great. Please provide an integer value between 1 and 10. 0. Nope. 10. Great. Now we broke one thing inside this code. What we didn't do was we were expecting to assign it something here. So what we didn't do was right here was say return user input. What that means is instead of printing this out right here, you can assign the value of this, just like you'd say x equals the integer of something, right? In this case, I said user input equals this, and so it's expecting something to be returned back from this call. And so you have to make sure you have a return inside of here. If you have a return, you don't need a break either. So now if we run this code, please provide an input, and we go 0, it doesn't work. And if I go 100, please provide an integer, 11, again it doesn't work, but 10 works, and 0 doesn't work, but 5 works. Okay, so now I can call that 100 times or 1,000 times. I've written this function and I don't need to write it again, and it's going to solve this problem for me again and again and again. I also wanted to talk about variable scoping, and that is variables that are reused. If you see inside our main function, you'll notice the string or the variable called user input, right? And I use it all over the place here. And when we call get user input, it also has a variable called user input. For the scope of this function, user input is unique to that function, and when the function ends, all the variables inside this end. Same thing here. This is a unique user input. Okay, it's different than this user input. There are times that you can declare variables global in scope and they can be used across functions, but typically you pass the parameters that the function needs inside the function declaration so that the function can be separate from global variables. You can see this like if we do something like this, and we do a call to, like, we create a function, okay, and it has a variable called x that we pass it, okay, and we say x equals 12 no matter what, and we print x, okay, like this, and then we call a function called bar, okay, and we create a variable here, and it's called x is 7, okay, and let's even do like this, print x, okay, so we'll print whatever they pass in, we'll set it to something, we'll print it again, now x is here, and we'll say now print x, okay, and then we'll call foo, which should set the variable to 12, and it'll print 12, and then we'll print x again. What you'll see as you step through this, and so inside here we'll call bar. We'll set a breakpoint here and step through this code. It'll stop there, and it's going to go through here. And it's going to say x is 7. It's going to print the 7. It's going to call the function foo. Oop, we forgot to pass it something. Let's pass it x, huh? There we go. Run it again. Step into here, step there, x is 7. Print the x, 7. Pass 7 into the foo function, okay, and it printed a 7, and then it printed a 12. And now it's going to come back and it's going to print x again. And you'll see that this x didn't change our x inside bar. As far as bar is concerned, bar is 7, and it's going to print 7 again for us. Okay. So hopefully that helps you understand sort of the scope of a variable. You can have variables across these things, and this x is different and distinct than that x, even when it's passed in as parameter, because it's passed by value and not by reference. Another reason that you create functions is so that you can work on a piece of code together. 5 people need to build something in order for this to work, and so you define the boundaries and go, I'm going to write a function, here's the input parameters, what I expect it to work, and someone else is going to write a different function, someone else is going to write a different function, and someone else is going to take all those 4 functions and wire them up together so that we solve a problem together. I hope this was useful, and if you run into any questions or anything that wasn't clear in this, please provide comments, and I'll be happy to answer them.